It was so unnecessary to fill that full. I actually do that every morning though. Kind of got this propped up till I go get my tripod. Getting my vitamins. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. How am I going to do this? Should have planned this a little bit better. But, you know, I just thought, why not do a live stream for those of us who are up right now. Wow, this is really hot. So, it is like really hot. Just sent my kids out the door with Luka. Luka's taking them to kindergarten and school today. This is always a distinction made here, but not in America. Because in America, you have, I don't even really know the order it goes in, but in America you have preschool, or maybe you have kindergarten, then preschool, or maybe it's the other way around. You have preschool, then kindergarten. I'm gonna take off my, everybody's like, what? Take off your what? Take off my case on my phone here. Okay. Such flattering views. You can tell I'm like, the algorithm loves me. The algorithm loves people who are like super pros. They don't love the people who are just weaking it. Testing, testing. Is that better? I've got my microphone. The sound should be a whole lot better. All right. Let's test it out. You know, it would be a whole lot better if I used these. It would be so much better. Anyway, my family always refers to, asking my kids, did you guys go to school today? And they always correct them. No, I don't go to school, I go to kindergarten. Because I think for Americans, it's kind of all school is just the general term for everything. And here, it's kindergarten, and only kindergarten until you go to school. Man, the quality is not great on this. I should turn it around, huh? That's what I should do. I don't have anything in particularly important to talk about today. I just thought, you know, I'm up, and this is the time I usually plan things. So why not? Of course, you know, the thing is, if I'm live streaming, obviously. And if I turn around to use the better camera from the back, you know what's going to happen. I'm not going to see anybody's chat. So we are going to sacrifice quality for social purposes. All right. As many of you know, I went to America. I think many of you know. I left April 21st. And I took the 3 kids by myself and I went to visit my family. It had been almost 3 years, like more than 2.5 years since I'd seen everybody. And I had a nephew and a niece that I had not met, and nobody had met Isaac save my mom. And it was just time. So we planned this trip, and at the last minute, Luka was not allowed into the country. So I went by myself. And originally the trip was going to be almost 4 weeks. But since Luka couldn't come, I was just like, there's no way. I am not going to travel 4 weeks with 3 children by myself. And I don't think it's healthy for the kids to be away from their, their Ati, their father, for that long. So changed it up, and I went with the three of them for 2 weeks and change. It was like almost 2.5 weeks. I'll never do it again. It was lovely. It was wonderful. It was so good to see everybody. It was very intense. It was a lot of work. It's a lot of work taking care of 3 kids. Like whenever I have to do anything without Luka, I'm pretty much just in awe of single moms who do it all the time. Because it is so hard. And gosh, but I tell you what, traveling, it's almost 24 hours from start to finish. And then by the time you get there, you have to deal with the jet lag. Nobody's in their routine. Like, kids love routine. So taking them out of the routine and then making them go to bed in a foreign environment they're not used to. Bedtime is like just the dread of every day. And a lot of times Isaac was not falling asleep until 10 or 10:30 at night. My kids, I know that's like weirdly normal for Slovenia. Like, I am shocked at people's kids go to bed so late here. My kids are always, like, bedtime here is like 7:30. Like 7:30, especially during the winter time, 7:30. During the summertime, it's gotten a little bit later, like 8 o'clock. But yeah, so normally they're going to bed at 7:30. They're not going to sleep until like 10 or 10:30. And I was so tired that like I was falling asleep before they were. And then so the hardest part of the trip on the way there was that we landed in San Francisco. So we had a flight from Ljubljana to Zurich, which is like a little over an hour and a half. And then from Zurich straight to San Francisco, which is like 11 and a half hours. That flight, let me just say, Olivia and Leia are now 7 and 5 years old. They're great. They're great. There's no problem with them traveling other than they get very upset when I tell them it's time to sleep and they have to turn off iPads and such. I had to like chokehold them into taking a nap on the plane because they just didn't want to. That's a joke. I did not actually chokehold my kids. Isaac, though, he was like running laps up and down the airplane, and I knew they had to fall asleep before we got to San Francisco, because if they fell asleep, we landed in San Francisco at 4 p.m. local time. So I knew that if they didn't sleep at all on the flight, they would pass out right as we got there. And then it would be the dead man's like sleep, which I don't know if you've ever experienced this with kids, but there's a point when they're so tired, they fall asleep and literally nothing will wake them. Like, they're literally like dead bodies. You can't make them do anything. And I thought, I have the baby carrier for Isaac. He still fits in it. But there's no way I can carry 3 kids with 2 suitcases and 2 car seats. It's just not possible. And so anyways, I made them fall asleep. Isaac, I literally had to carry in the carrier for the last 4 hours of the flight. And all of that was not as bad as once we get in San Francisco. First of all, it's so good to land, get your stuff. And by the way, you know those little like carts? Okay, those little carts for your luggage here in Ljubljana. You need a coin to, like, that's 50 cents or €1, €2 coin. You put it in, they let you take it, and then you just return it, you get your coin back. In San Francisco, if you want to use one of those, you have to pay $8. $8! I was like, I don't care how difficult this is, I will not give you $8. So outrageous for me to get from this little, what is it called? Merry-go-round out those doors, which I'm looking at. $8. No. So I literally had Olivia push one giant suitcase. I put the car seat on the other giant suitcase. Thank God they're on like rollers. And I rolled that And then I held the other one in this hand. I had Isaac, I had my backpack, and I just barked at Leia and Olivia, get back here, get close to me, don't go away. And we made it through the doors, and I didn't pay your ridiculous $8. So anyway, and then I saw my mom. She came to pick us up. It was great. So you're like so happy to be off the plane, get in a car, be with somebody you know. It's just like, it's great. And we drove for, I don't know, an hour, and then we stopped at In-N-Out for dinner, which is like, oh, heaven. Heaven. So good. So good. So we stopped at In-N-Out for dinner and then got back in the car and had like the remaining, I don't know what, 2.5 hours. And we got to my parents' house, I think it was like 8 o'clock at night. So it wasn't bad, but I swear those last 2 hours were just brutal. Brutal. That was the best part about coming back, was like you do that first driving leg, 3+ hours to the airport. But then we landed in Ljubljana. So then once you land, it's like 15 minutes and you're home. So that was like so great. Because by the time it's all over and you finally land, there's like, I just don't want to do the driving. I don't want to do the driving anymore. So yeah, we had a really lovely time. And then we drove from Grass Valley, which is my hometown, to San Diego, which is, I don't know, more or less 8 hours without stops. So I packed all the kids into the car at 4 a.m. and started driving, which was great. They did sleep a couple of hours. And then I bought all the junk snacks I never buy. And we had all the junk snacks on the way down. And the last 2 hours were terrible. It was okay up until then. But then Isaac was just like unconsolable. There's nothing that made him happy. He was miserable. He was angry. He did not want to be in the car anymore. And I made the mistake of saying, you know what, we'll just stop. And I thought, we'll stop at Downtown Disney. Because when you're driving down the 5, there's literally an exit for Disneyland right off of the freeway. So I was like, okay, no problem. We'll go right to Downtown Disney. And like the last time I was at Downtown Disney, there's a cute little parking lot right next to Downtown Disney. You go in, you park like a stone's throw away from the entrance, and you walk into Downtown Disney and you've got whatever you want. Oh no, now they reroute you to some godforsaken land where they call a parking lot. And we were so far away. And at this point, I was just like tunnel vision survival mode, like just get to a parking spot, just get to a parking spot. So I finally get to a parking space. I'm like, hallelujah. The kids are praying to every saint they know, please find us a parking space. Olivia was asking Kateri Takakwitha to pray for us. Please give us a parking space. Leia was praying to Our Lady of Perpetual Help. It was hilarious. It was so cute. And so we finally find a parking space. A really good one, too, might I add. And, or I'll say the saints found us a parking space. The Lord found us a parking space really close. And I just like release the children. And they go, ah! running from the parking lot towards Downtown Disney. And it was terrible because we were so far away. Like, it was such a mistake in hindsight. And literally all I wanted was, I was like, I know Downtown Disney has coffee. I just want an iced coffee. I just want an iced coffee that doesn't come from Starbucks, because they had this like bistro the last time I was there. That bistro's gone and all they have is Starbucks, but I'm not complaining. It was a great coffee, but getting there, it's like, it's not near the entrance. Oh no, it's like way at the other end of Downtown Disney. So the kids are like running and screaming and everything. The reason, part of the reason I chose to stop at Downtown Disney is because I know it's a safe place. It is really the hardest part about traveling in the US with children by myself is the safety. Like, trafficking is such an issue in the US, and I don't trust anybody or anywhere at all. And so having 3 kids is really intimidating because 1 kid, 2 kids, that's okay. But then you have a third and it's like, herding cats. You can't keep them together. And so just stopping at a gas station, I was like, all right, kids, focus up. Like, we got to be careful. We got to be focused. Do not leave me. You stay with me. You hold my hands. Like, so on. Part of the reason why I had the baby carrier was for that reason, so that I had Isaac attached to me, and then I had 2 hands free for the girls. So, but downtown Disney, I know, is a really safe location. Like, they have their security everywhere. They're very, like, I've seen their security in action before, and they're really great. And like, so anyway, so we finally get to downtown Disney. We go through the security, and Isaac is like flailing. He's like Gollum, like, "Wah!" And I'm just like, guys, can we just please, like, I have all the teenagers in front of me being like, eh. I'm just like, guys, can you move along? Like, please. We finally make it through security. The kids are just going crazy. They're just bananas. And then I just want to get to the coffee. I'm like, please, let's just get to the coffee. Long story long, we finally get to the coffee. And then the kids try to dunk themselves in the fountains. And I finally get them back to the car. I think the whole time we were, like, the whole break was maybe an hour. And it was just enough for us to get to San Diego peaceably. So we arrived in San Diego, I think it was like 3:30, 3-ish in the afternoon, which is great. I just didn't want to arrive at midnight, and I didn't want to arrive at 7 p.m., It's like after spending the whole day in the car, the kids need a lot of time to get that all out, and I don't want to do that at bedtime. Not that it helped, because they still didn't go to bed until forever. So yeah, we had a lovely time in San Diego. The weather was so great. It really made me think, if I ever move back to California, which very questionable at this point, some big changes would have to be made. But if I ever move back to California, I definitely want to live on the beach. It's so nice. I could easily imagine. Every morning we woke up, we had our breakfast, we went to the beach. And the sand is the one drawback. Like, it's just everywhere. But it's so worth it because, first of all, it's just so beautiful. And it's so peaceful. It's so calming. It's so relaxing. It's just, there's something about being at the ocean and just seeing this vast horizon beyond you. And just, you're so much in nature, even though you're still in the city. It's very cool. And the kids love it. Like, it was cold. Like, that's the one thing. The beach is not warm. Even on the hot days, the wind coming off the water really cools you down, at least in California. And so you never really feel very, very hot. Or if you do feel hot, you run in the water and it's quite brisk, and then you're cooled down. So the kids had a lovely time, and I did too. I really enjoyed it. And my whole family came, so all of us were together. It was great, other than bedtime. I keep stressing bedtime because, like, having all the kids myself, I was really looking forward to the time that I could put my kids to bed and then be my own person. Not be the mom, just be Mariah, and be able to hang out with my family and, like, talk with my siblings and my parents and stuff. And when you have your kids, you're, like, always divided. Your tension is constantly ping-ponging from, like, what they're doing, what they need, to what your conversation is about or what your focus is. And it's very mentally draining. And so I was just looking forward to so much the time when they would be in bed so that I could be my own person and be like, have adult conversations. And then they don't go to bed until 10:30, almost 11. And I'm at that point so drained. Like, the rest of me is just gone. And that was really emotionally, psychologically difficult. Like, that was just very draining. So we were in San Diego for 4 nights. And then I spent one more night with my brothers because they lived down there. It was really nice. It was just super. We were talking about what we were going to get to eat. And I was like, oh my gosh, I haven't had buffalo wings or, like, chicken wings yet. So we had chicken wings, and it was so good. So good. Oh my gosh, did I miss chicken wings? And we had a lot of Mexican food. I was craving Mexican food so badly because Slovenia does not have Mexican food. The closest it comes is El Patron in like old part of Ljubljana in the center. They're the only thing that comes close, and they're pretty good. I'll give them that. They're pretty good, but no other restaurant. Like, don't even joke me. It doesn't, like, I look at it and I go, I don't know what that is. Like, I can tell you it's not Mexican food. I'm very harsh, but then I'm like, yeah, but California is full of, like, there's some bad Mexican food in California, but there's also, like, the best of the best. So, same with sushi. Like, I can't eat sushi here. I've had, that's not true. There's been a couple places here that have good sushi, but, like, most of the sushi here is not edible, in my opinion. I know I sound really snobby when I say stuff like this, and I don't like to say it that often. Maru is really good. I was actually telling Luka that last night. I was like, I could totally go to Maru. Balkan food is our Mexican food. That's true. That's exactly what it is. And I imagine if I were to go get Balkan food in California, they'd have no idea what I was talking about. So I don't hold it against anybody here. I'm like, of course, you're so far from Mexico. I don't blame you, but man, do I miss salsas. Like, I don't know why. I just really miss salsas and like enchilada sauce. So anyway, what else? So then when we packed up to go back from San Diego to Grass Valley, another 8-hour something drive, I woke up at like 3:20 in the morning, and I was just like, I'm not going back to bed. If I woke up this early, there's no reason for me to try to fall back asleep for another like 30 minutes. No. So I woke up that early. I packed up the car, put the kids in the car, got on the road, and like, it's not even 5 o'clock. It's like not even 5, and there's traffic in LA. I'm like, does LA ever not have traffic? OMG. I was so glad that I got out of there when I did. We drove all the way up, and then we stopped in Sacramento, where my sister lives, and just hung out the rest of the day there, which was really nice because from there to my parents is like 1 more hour. And honestly, the hardest part about that was just mentally knowing in a couple days I was going to have to drive all the way back to San Francisco, which in the end wasn't so bad because we had a couple days that we didn't do anything or go anywhere. And in the beginning of your trip, the drive is not so difficult. It's much harder later in the trip. So anyway, that's the overall gist. The kids had such a good time. They loved it. They also really struggled with not seeing Luka. It was so funny. Like, you know, fathers are so important to children, and I know this, and I'm always reminded of it whenever Luka is gone, either if he goes on a business trip or we're away from him like we were, just how much more emotionally unstable the kids are. And I get we're traveling, I get there's a different environment, but they're also like having the best time of their life and the worst time of their life. You know, like Olivia was like, I don't want to ever leave this place. I want to stay here forever. And then at, one morning, everybody's crying, which is really unusual. Usually my kids wake up pretty happy. They have their shakes for breakfast. They're fine. They're like ready to go. And then one morning they were just like crying and crying. Everybody's crying. And I'm like, okay, guys, bring it in. Bring it in. Let's have a minute. We like sit on the couch. I cuddle everybody. And at one point, Leia just says, I just miss Auntie so much. My heart is breaking. Which is like so cute. And I go, I know. So kids really need their aunties. And that was a hard part of us being there. And 2 weeks and change was like, trying to fit a lot into a short amount of time. And I just, kind of in the second half of it, I just started, my mantra was, what would be the easiest way? What would make it the easiest for me? What choice here would make it the easiest on me? Because at one point you're just like, we're not going to get everything done. We're not going to see everybody. We're not going to go everywhere. What would make it the easiest for me in the long run? And that's kind of just what I did. And yeah, it was really pleasant. It was wonderful to see my siblings and just hang out with my family. It's so hard. That's like one of the hardest things about living so far away from them. It's not like it's anything against Slovenia per se. It's just literally living without any family members. Is that nobody knows you like your family, and you don't know anybody like you know your family. And having, like I get some families are not that close, but our family is really close. I'm super close with all my siblings. And not having that in your life is really difficult. Like, very insanely sad and challenging to have, like, your closest friends you never get to be with. And then the people you spend the time with them are not usually your closest friends, so you never get to have that. Like, there's something special about having really close friends and family, which is you can really be yourself around them and they know you. And when you're around the people you know best and you like, I like people here. It's not like I don't like people here. And I have really good friends here. And I'm like really close with my sister-in-law, which I love. Like, I am so fortunate that I got that. Like, I am not without any family here to be close with. And I can see that being with some family here and some close friends here, it is like being with my family. And it's still different. So it's just something that I really miss. And after 10 and a half years, you kind of start to go, this is never going away. Like after 10 and a half years of living away, being away, experiencing this, having children, all this stuff, you just kind of know, okay, this is not going to change. Our families are becoming a WhatsApp tag on the bottom of the screen. Yeah, it's hard. I know. And that's kind of like the new world, right? It's like, people have always like left their families and migrated to different places. But I guess the benefit of it today is that you have so many ways to communicate. It's crazy to me to think that if this was even 50 years ago, 60 years ago, I would have been like only able to keep in touch with my family by writing letters. Like, how much would I miss out? Now we have like shared photo albums and, they can see pictures and videos of my kids. That was not possible before. So it's really like the best time to live away from your family in a sense. It's also hard. Still hard, but not as hard as it would have been, I'm sure. So yeah, that was my trip to California. I made a video upon returning about this new pen I got, and it turned out to be a terrible video, so I didn't even bother editing it. I had a B cam set up, I forgot to start recording, and then mid-recording, my A cam shut off. So I was like, it wasn't even worth it to me, honestly. Like, the video was not that nice. I'll show you what I got. The video wasn't even that interesting. I was tired, and it looked very, I don't know if boring is the right word, but definitely was not something that I'd be like, oh, let me spend time editing this and post it for a very subpar video. One of the things I got while I was in California, a TWSBI Eco, limited edition, rose gold. It sounds very fancy. It's a nice pen. It's not that expensive, but I really like fountain pens now. So I made a video unboxing this and filling it up for the first time, because the cool thing about this one is it is a piston converter. So you have a huge amount of ink at your disposal. And that is really cool. And so yeah, I made a video just about filling this up. Yeah, I got some other cool stuff while I was in America. Brought home some things. I brought home some hot sauces for Luka because we're really into hot sauces now. Yeah, and I don't know, that's it. I literally came back from this trip like a dead person. I was so exhausted in a way that I've never been before. Completely drained of all resources. And I just kind of did nothing for the first week that we were back. I really have a problem trying to get stuff done. So I made sure that I didn't do anything. I made sure I didn't do any projects. I had one goal every day, and that was like, you know, after the first day, I didn't do anything. The second day, I don't think I did anything either. And then the third day, I unpacked the kids' suitcase. And then the next day, I think I cleaned up something. The next day, I unpacked my suitcase. The day after that, I cleaned up that. You know, like, I really tried to make it easy on myself. And still, it was like, so we got back on May 8th. Now we're here at the end of May. Today's the last day of May, right? And like, I don't know, a couple days ago, I was like, this is the first day I actually feel normal, like rested. So it took a lot out of me, but it was worth it. How was your first day in Slovenia? If you're talking about the first day I ever came to Slovenia, I arrived at night and I remember it was humid, but it was beautiful because I came in the summertime. When did I come? Was it June? Maybe it was August. It might have been August. July or August. And yes, it was August. It was the end of July, I think, beginning of August or something like that. And I remember thinking it was very humid, but beautiful because during the summer in California, everything dies. All the grass is dead. It's all brown. The nature is dead other than the, you know, evergreen trees. And coming here, it was like green everywhere because it still rains during the summertime. That was so beautiful to me. I also thought that the socialist buildings were incredibly ugly. And then you had like not socialist buildings that were incredibly beautiful. Did I have a huge culture shock or was it easy? The weird thing is, I feel like the culture shock accrues over time. Initially, you think it's not so different from America. European culture greatly influenced American culture. You know, it's not like going to Vietnam where you have a very big cultural difference. But the longer I was here, the more apparent it became, well, we are different. We are very different. So I would say culture shock came when I started living here and there was things I was just like, I just cannot believe that this is how it is. Some things like, you know, the fact that like if you park like a jerk, you will find that your windshield wipers have been pulled up to let you know you've parked like a jerk. Whereas I'm like, why don't, like, first of all, they don't like the way they parked. Okay, but what if you're standing there and you just tell them, oh no. Like that to me was one of the, like, that was a huge culture shock thing that annoyed me where I was just like, everybody's passive aggressive, very passive aggressive. No one will just ask you, hey, oh, I'm so sorry. Do you mind moving your car a little bit? They'll just wait for you to leave and then key your car. Stuff like that. I go like, oh gosh. Not like everybody's perfect in America either. So do you feel like living in Slovenia changed you at all? Yeah, for sure. Living here has changed me in a way of like my worldview, my political views, There's like, I think when I've talked to other expats, and many of them have had similar experiences where you live in a different place, and initially you start going, oh my gosh, this is so much better than what they do in America, or this is so much better than America, and like that's so much better than in America. And then you live here longer and you go, oh my gosh, it is so much better in America the way we do that. That in America is way better. And so you kind of, and then after a while, you kind of get this balance between where you see like, there's good things here, there's good things there, there's bad things there, there's bad things here. And what would be the ideal? Luke and I have these microphones here you can see it in the reflection, to start a podcast. And I was saying that I think our first episode should be the difference between European and American healthcare, because now it's something we have a really good amount of experience in, and it's a pretty complicated issue, like here you have socialized medical care, and in America you don't. And it seems like initially you're like, oh my gosh, everything here is so much better, like especially for health-related expenses. And then after a while, you're like, oh no, there are some serious drawbacks to this. And in America, you're like, everything here sucks. And then after a while, you're like, yeah, but all the best are in America for a reason. So nobody's coming to like, small corners of Europe for like the best specialist. They're all going to America most of the time. So anyways, it would be an interesting topic, but yeah, I think it also changed my style, just like my personal style, which for a while, when I came here, I didn't have a channel back then, but when I came here, my style was very retro, very vintage, very pinup in some ways, and I loved being that style. I still like to be that style, but it made me uncomfortable because when I came here, and I think this has changed, but when I came here, like 98% of women did not wear makeup or do anything to their hair. And so when I came in with like victory rolls and red lipstick, it was like, where does she come from? Did she just come from like a movie set, or like, why are you and people were really nice, and they would tell me, oh, you look so, you look really beautiful, and that's nice, but I was so uncomfortable with the amount of attention. And this sounds like even saying it makes me feel so cringy saying it. But that's something that's changed, is that I used to dress up like that. That was just my style. And I loved it, and I still love it, but it makes me uncomfortable because it's very unusual. Like, I don't know that I've seen anybody here ever dress like that or have that kind of a style. And that is a very like Americana style. So I toned it back from then. Every now and then I still pull out the red lipstick. I still do the whole look, and it makes me feel so good, and I really do miss it. And part of it is like I had kids, and I was like, if I wear red lipstick, I can't kiss my kids. So I have to sacrifice that because it's just impossible to not kiss children. Like I would implode. So I miss that. I think the nice thing that I've gotten from European style is maybe a little bit more minimalistic, and I like that as well. Oh God, the water situation in California. No, this is the horrible thing. I was so happy to come back to Slovenia, and just drink water out of the tap. My parents in Northern California, their water's fine. You can drink it out of the tap. But in Southern California, you cannot drink water from the tap. I don't even make food from water in the tap. It's that chlorinated. It smells like a hot tub, like swimming pool. It is so awful. It's so awful. And so it's like, oh, well, we got to go buy water because you can't drink the water coming out of the tap, which is insane. I used to live in Anaheim, which is in Southern California, close to Disneyland. And the water was, we would drink water from like purchased water, but we would boil our food or make food with water from the tap. And there was dogs. I lived with my aunt, she had dogs. And the dogs would never drink the water from their water bowls, but they would go outside to the pool, the chlorinated pool, and drink from the pool. And then somebody came to test the water in the house, and he said, it's more chlorinated out of the tap than the pool water, which is being treated with chlorine. Ugh. Terrible. It's terrible. So, yeah, you can't drink the tap water from Southern California. I say California, like, you have to understand. I feel like Europeans maybe miss how big America is sometimes. I'm like, California, you know, like, if I go from one end of Slovenia to the other end of Slovenia, it's, what, 3 hours? I don't think it's even 3 hours. 2 hours? 2.5 hours, maybe? It's not very far to go from the furthest end of your country to the other furthest end of your country. If I want to go from the top of California to the bottom of California, nonstop driving, we're talking like 12 hours. Okay. That's just California. The rest of the United States, I cannot speak for because I've never lived there. So I know that in California, like Southern California, the water's really bad, but it's not like that all over the United States. And it's probably the most like this in California and in large cities, I imagine. But I don't know for sure. But yeah, I think like the United States is so much bigger than I think people realize. Like, I just remember Luke and his dad drove from here to like Norway, was it? And it took them like 12 hours. And Mimi and I, Luke and I also, we drove from California, which is like the westest of the West Coast, to New Orleans, which isn't even all the way. You still have like several states to get to the end of America. And we drove for like 36 hours. And we didn't even get close to the end. So it's very big. Yeah. Yeah. How do we just? Okay. How did we decide to move to Slovenia instead of California? Well, when we were talking about getting married, Luka and his dad had a company here that they had. Like, Luka's dad started it. Luka's been working in it since he was 13, and I was freshly graduated student, and it just didn't make any financial sense to me for Luka to leave this company and then look for some job in California. And I had always wanted to live in Europe, even if it was a short amount of time. But really I was just like, it just seems so foolish to leave your company, at least right now. And so we decided that we would live in Slovenia for the first year, and then after a year, reevaluate where we're at and decide what to do for the future. And so after a year, we reevaluated, and it just like was the sort of thing where it just never made sense to leave. I really enjoyed Slovenia, and it was really difficult. I don't think it was ever easy. It's just really hard. I think the one thing that you don't really understand until you've done it for a long time is it's really hard to live constantly in a place where you're not comfortable. When I go back to America, the language is never a problem. I never have to think about how to say something or what happens if I can't communicate in a situation. If somebody doesn't speak my language, if I can't find what I'm looking for, like there's just this added stress of living in a foreign country of like difficulty with general life And that being gone, going to America is really nice. And so like living here initially, it's even more so because I remember the first time I went to the grocery store by myself, I was petrified. I was so nervous because none of the food looks like it does in America. None of the packaging looks like it does in America. I can't figure out what to buy. And I'm trying to look at the back and like read what's in this. There's no English. And if there is English on the back of the packaging, there's a big label over it with Slovene. It was so stressful. I can't even tell you. Like, that was so hard. Like, those adjustments were really hard. And, you know, I came here because of Luka. I didn't come here because I wanted to live in Slovenia. So that, I think, makes a big difference. There's people who come here, they fall in love with the country, the culture, the place. They want to live here forever. And then they don't mind, like, all those challenges that come, it's from a completely different perspective. Whereas from my perspective, it was like, I came here for him and I'm having to figure all this out, but I didn't want any of this. Like, it's not that I didn't want it. No, how do I say this? It's not that I don't want it. It's that I did not ask for any of it. I don't know if that makes sense. But that was a big challenge. My interview with Slovenian immigration. Oh, it was so stressful. How did you learn Slovene from Luka or school? Okay, I did not learn from Luka. Luka was, helpful and all that, but it was not healthy for our relationship for him to try to help me with Slovene. I really suggest to all couples, I'm like, just don't. It's not good. Go take a class or course and then try, like, ask if you have questions. But I think people who don't know how to be teachers will tell you or try to teach you in the most unhelpful ways. And they're just like trying their best to help you, which makes it even worse. My interview with Slovenian citizenship. So I don't have Slovenian citizenship. I just have permanent residency. And my, thanks for being here. What do you call it? My interview was basically to give me permanent because I had temporary residency. So my interview was to give me permanent residency. And it's like first of all, the first time I showed up, they were like, we're so sorry. Our system's shut down. So we can't do the interview today, which I was like, oh, great. I'm going to have to go through all this again. So then the second time we showed up, it was like the lady was very nice. But then when she started the interview, she became like a very unkind person, like very straightforward, very serious. And I think that she kind of has to do that as a vetting process. But I was like kind of taken aback by it. The funny thing, I still remember the funny thing was she asked me to name my neighbors. And I was like, I have no idea. I don't know any of my neighbors. We live in a block flat. We know nobody. And I don't know any of their names. I know their first names, but I don't know their last names. So that was funny. I was like, I can't name any of my neighbors. Yeah, it's not an interview, it's an interrogation. Exactly. All right. I think this is a good place to end it. Thank you for your questions. Thanks for being here. I just kind of wanted to touch base because I know it's been forever that I've not been uploading. And I like the live stream format, but it's also not the most watchable thing to tune into. So anyways, thank you all for being here. I really appreciate it. I'll see you the next